I like to start right on time because I know everyone has busy schedules and we got to get the information and get out type of thing. So, welcome everyone to our June Masterclass. I can't believe we're almost halfway through the year here, but here we are. This month, we're focusing on powering up our pipeline. So that's really focusing on database, organization. What are you doing to really make your connections a little bit easier, right? So doing the automation, streamline, but really what is making the difference at the end of the day. So we have a special guest, Jason Fox. He is our office owner, part of the Madrona Group, and a top 1% broker in his own right. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining today. We really appreciate it.
You bet, Savannah. I'm just excited to be asked to be of service. So,
Of course. And I like your top 1% reward award back there in the car.
you see it?
Sure.
I don't know how many people know what it is, right? But it's not an Oscar. So,
You just said like, yes, it is Oscar. Any award.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about relationship mapping first. So you've built a database that reflects both your business and your values. Can you walk us through how you achieved it to align with your long-term vision, not just for transactions, but for relationships?
Yeah, for sure. The first thing is, and I'm kind of working on this. This is new, but I've always kind of had it. But it's a whole kind of system that I'm developing right now, and it's called the Madrona Method, and it's based off of 14 different systems, right? And I think that we should be pretty skilled in all 14 of these to have a really great career.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about the follow-up system. But I think the follow-up system also kind of goes hand in hand with the marketing system, which also goes hand in hand with community, conversation, tech, right? They all kind of just interweave in and out of each other. So that's kind of important when you're thinking about like there's not just like this one thing going on,
Mhm.
but we have about 27,000 contacts in our database. And so obviously we can't touch all of them or build relationships with all of them. We do have a categorization type system and, we keep them categorized the best that we can. But for us, it's really about trust.
Mhm.
And that's the core value, I think. So we kind of use all of our systems to try to help deepen that trust because I really think that's about the only currency we really have as agents. And I deal with a lot of online stuff, a lot of digital stuff, as well as sphere-based stuff. So it's really critical for me to kind of figure out like, how do you build trust with somebody, without seeing their face or without meeting them to at least get to that position where you can meet them.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you identify and nurture those invisible influencers? Those who may not have, a transaction every year, every 5 years, but are consistently opening those doors and making introductions.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that they're never who you think they're going to be. Remember when I started and I had this list of people and I'm like, oh, these are going to be the people that give me all my business. They haven't sent me any business, right? And it's always these folks that I never would have guessed and friends, parents, camping buddies, online leads, whatever. But identifying them is kind of the easy part. You start to notice when it starts happening. I think we use lots of different systems to bring them to surface. Ultimately, it's about building that relationship, right? And like your dad always says, relationships trump everything. And I truly believe that. And I parrot that often. But I have a goal of trying to have 13 real estate conversations a day in all different formats, whatever that looks like, pop-bys and phone calls and video texts and just going out to dinner. But, once they've kind of been identified and you see who they are, we do have a system. And it's weird because your database is like, I don't like talking about it like a database because they're like your friends and your family. But we do identify them, and once they hit that A status, we do tend to give those folks more attention. We make sure, and we have systems in place that just remind me, like, oh, hey, buddy, it's time to make a personal touch, right?
What categorizes as a person as an A status? What would you describe them as?
Yeah. So an A status to me is somebody that is currently sending me or doing business with me.
Yeah,
So if I know that you're going to, and not just a hope, right? But you literally are doing business with me right now, or you are sending me business regularly. Yeah,
there we
that's
go.
an ASAP. Mhm.
I love it. Moving towards our automation and personalization at scale, you worked on both of the tech and agent sides of a CRM system, which is why I was really excited to interview you today. What system or automation that you've built that you believe most agents overlooked, and how has it been a game changer for you?
Okay, well, I'm probably not going to blow anybody's socks off with this, because, some things are just tried and true. But honestly, a weekly email newsletter is really so powerful. And I know that, we get caught up in all the fancy toys and the shiny things, and people are selling us this and that and leads and on and on. But email is not dead. And as a matter of fact, some of you are probably reading your email right now. I like to send out a weekly email newsletter, and I do that automated. I use MailChimp, right? And I use my RSS feed. I use the blog that we have set up. I just make sure that I add new content to my blog every single week, and it sends it to my MailChimp. My MailChimp will then say, okay, if there's a blog post that we trigger it, I do go in through the week and add some interesting current event type information. I have stats in there. I have stuff that I think will be helpful to folks, which is kind of leads into my deal. I try to never show up empty handed, right? I always want to have some type of a gift of value or a real gift or whatever. So
Yeah. I love it. That's fantastic. And that's why I love doing these interviews, because it just reinforces, we all know how to do real estate, right? It's all the things that we don't want to do. You just got to get it on, and then you'll be successful.
It's not hard.
Oh.
And real quick, sorry, Savannah, one thing about the email, like that, I don't know if everybody, like if you think about it in this way, but some people will say to me, well, only 10% or 15% read it. And I'm like, that's fine. And ours is about 20%. Because it is so consistent, which is still not great. I would, it should be 100%. These are like my things. But every time that email comes into their inbox and they don't unsubscribe, there's my name. There's my name. Every week, there's my name. So, that consistency and professionalism.
I love it. So how do you ensure that automation doesn't beat over that personalization or human connection?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? And the systems trigger the thought, but ultimately it still comes down to the conversation, right? It comes down to the relationship. For me, like if in one of your questions, and I'm going to use this to answer this question, but one of your questions was, how did a campaign in the past fail you?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have like a specific, but what I can tell you is this: every time I try to use something that shows me as not authentic, it fails me. And it could be like AI chat bots or, video AI or, scripting or anything where it's like my client is sitting there, they're talking to this chat bot and they think it's me, and then they figure out it's not me. Yeah, no, that's not cool. But I've tried it, right?
Yeah.
Guilty. We've all tried these things.
Yeah.
So when I'm not authentic, when it's not really me that's connecting, that's when it's a problem.
I love it. And yeah, you got to test out what's working, what's not. And now now you can walk in confidence with whatever tools you are using. So I love it. Can you share a time when your tech stack allowed you to show up at the exact right moment for clients, and what that moment meant for that relationship?
Yeah, for sure. And this one is, if it's not necessarily a thing, because this happens a lot. And I want to share this because it's still kind of basic too. And I think it plays into what Madrona Scott's doing with buy side, right? So AVM sites, the automated value evaluation models, or seller lead sites, home valuation tools, whatever you want to call it. Those are actually so valuable. And I know a lot of people don't utilize them or they don't understand the power. So I just really want to talk about that. I will often send out some type of a campaign, and I have it in every email. There's a link, and I drive my website traffic to them, because what I've found is that most of the time when people want to know the value of their home, they're at least thinking about what it would look like to sell. Very, very early stages, a lot of nurturing needed, but it's a trigger. And so that allows me to then follow up. And then I have lots of systems around that, start that conversation. Hey, what would it look like to move? What are your dreams? What are your goals? How could I help make that a reality? And I will typically generate about 3 to 4 listings a year with that tool. And so I do think that it is kind of showing up on time, and then obviously, maintaining the relationship.
I love to hear it. Moving on, focusing more on the campaigns and community, can you tell us a time when a highly targeted campaign based on your database segmentation led to an outsized results? What made it work?
Yeah. And, this is kind of the same. I actually was probably going to answer that question the same as this one.
Great. No worries. We can move on.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're all good. You're deeply involved in the community work. How have you weaved that into your database strategy in a way that's authentic and not just marketing? Look at me.
That's tough. I don't It's funny because if you watch me or whatever, and I do all the videos and I put myself out there, we do all that because we have to. I don't know how many of us like it. I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like being on the camera. As soon as it turns on, I turn into like a whole different person. I got to really like think about, okay, settle down. You just,
You're not.
and you guys, right? John Scott, you guys do so much, and they're trying to like put it out there in a way that is authentic to show people. We do some stuff like we do donate 1% of all of our commission goes to different events. And so we always try to highlight the companies, the charities, the events that we do, trying not to highlight us or like, it's not about look at us, look at what we're doing, but we try to incorporate that into our clients as well. So we try to invite them into the mix. We just went and did a cleanup event for the Forgotten Children's Fund, where they kind of sponsored this kids farm on Whidbey Island. And so a bunch of us all showed up to help paint and weed and do all that stuff, right?
Huh.
And so, yeah, we do show people that we do it, and it's like, I think that's cool because, it is helpful. And then just try to do it in a way that really doesn't promote us, but promotes the cause.
It kind of sounds like talking about mindset here, right? It's okay. Why I'm posting this is focus on community, get more people involved, get that awareness going, and this is who we are, how we walk, and it's still that promotion as well. So that's wonderful to hear. Going over to long-term vision and your approach with the database, how do you approach database pruning or re-engagement? What signals tell you it's time to let someone go or double down?
That's a great question. And this is one area I'm a little bit not as strong in, but I love adding to my database. I don't like taking away. But what I'll tell you this, with 27,000 people in there, obviously we're not going through each and every one. But what we do have is a top 300. And we do manage that top 300. That's our gold, right? And so I wish I could tell you it was like every quarter, but honestly, it's at the end of the year when we're doing our holiday packages. So every year we send out something for the holidays. And while we're doing that, because it is also the slow time of the year traditionally, that's when we go through and make sure that we have all the current contact information. And then we kind of look through and we'll go through each name. Okay, XYZ, do they still live in state, for instance, or are they still referring us business, or maybe do we need to reactivate that relationship? And so we'll go through one by one, all 300. We'll add people if we need to. We'll subtract people if we need to. Typically, subtracting is just based off of either moving out of state or every once in a while, I guess there's a fallout in relationship. And then adding people, of course, people that we did business with, or when you get those surprise referrals along the year and you're like, wow, that was cool. I didn't expect that. So let's throw them in the top 300.
Perfect. 2 questions on that. What are you doing to re-engage with someone that maybe you've lost contact with throughout the year? Again, I know 27,000, that's a big number that you're working with.
Yeah. So there's a whole system around re-engaging and staying in touch with everybody. And I'm not going to bore everybody with the whole thing, but okay. Well, it's long. I don't know if we have time for all that. There's a lot of different ways. And, one of the things I do use the housing reports, right? So I have about 30,000 people in that database that do get those monthly reports. And I think those are super valuable. I've never once had anybody complain to me about it. I've had maybe 2 or 3 people asked to be removed out of 30,000. Yeah, super good, right? It's social media. There's some paid stuff. It's video. It's email. But when you want to re-engage, there's really just nothing like picking up the phone and setting some type of a date. And whether it's coffee or whatever, if you're close to them, you go hang out or go to an event or whatever, but they're your friends, right? So treat them that way. Hey, we've lost touch. And, there's scripts and there's psychology and, so we'll do the, I'm sorry, I've lost touch. Please forgive me. Let's get re-engaged.
I love it. And then the next follow-up question, if you don't mind sharing, what do you do for your end of year gifts? What does that look like?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what we've done in the past, and this is where we tried to tie in community as well, is we create a calendar, but we do a calendar around whatever big charity that we're working with for the year, which is also, there's another fail story in there, but like one year we sponsored Weld, which is a group that helps people start life after being incarcerated, right? And so I don't even want to tell this story. It's embarrassing. But anyway, we put folks with their permission on the calendar, and then
Yeah.
we realized, like, they were like, "Why aren't you hanging up our calendar?" And like, well, you kind of got these people on here that we don't know, and so we learned some lessons with that. But anyway, it's a community-based calendar that helps bring awareness to whatever cause we're working on for the year.
That's so
Um,
that's great. Yeah, and people use it all the
they
time.
use it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so tapping in a little bit to your office owner mindset here, if you were mentoring a top producing agent today, what would you tell them to do differently with their database than what you would tell them 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Differently today than what I would have told them differently 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was A, B, C, and D focused. I was more, like system based. I'd say today, more so than ever, like we have to be our true selves. And I would remove as much automation as possible. So, let the technology do its work, set
Mhm.
up reminders, set up your systems, make sure that you're always being reminded of the folks that are the most important to you. But then after that, it has to be you. It has to be an authentic connection. It has to be real.
I love it. And continuing on the leader mindset of, I know you're a co-owner of multiple offices. How have you instilled database discipline and strategy across your team or brokerage?
Yeah. Well, there you go. The $1,000,000 question. Have I? I talk about it relentlessly. So every week at the sales meeting, about the third segment I do is based on our conversation system, which is, prospecting or whatever you want to call it. We call it the conversation system because it's about having conversations, right?
Mhm.
That's why I said, my goal is to have 13 real estate conversations a day. I think if I can do that, then I can make about 500,000 a year because based off of the percentages that convert and et cetera, right? I talk about it every meeting. I ask people to share their prospecting stories. And I'm like, don't even share the ones that convert into a listing appointment. I don't care. We don't need to know that it turned into $1,000,000 or $2,000,000 sale. I want to know that you wrote a letter. I want to know that you went out and did some pop-bys. I want to know that you door knocked that open house. Like, let us hear that. And then what it felt like and what happened. Right. So I'm just constantly talking about it. And I don't know if there's a way that you can really get people interested in it. If they're not, I think most brokers still today, they're working off their cell phone, no matter how hard we all try.
All we can do is try, but no, I think that's a great perspective. A lot of our top brokers, especially on this call, have teams, and it's okay, got someone new coming in, they're hot, they maybe lose some focus. How do we still, every single day, you're opening up and focusing on that database?
One of the first things that I want a new broker to do is, go get 100 contacts, right? Like that should be the first thing you do. And Lennox talks about it too, right? The conversation part, it's not the vital few, it's the vital one. It's really the only thing that matters. You need to be going out there and connecting. So go find 100 people that you can do that to. And we really push that. And then, talk, of course, about the Engage CRM system and how easy it is to use. Get 100 people in there. And you guys all know this is how it works. I don't know 100 people. Absolutely you do, right? And so then we coach them through how easy it is to find those 100 people. I say easy. It's simple, I guess, the idea. It's not easy. It just takes that effort.
Yeah, ripping off the Band-Aid. I love it. Okay, last question I got for you, and then we'll open up to the peanut gallery here. But what's one way your database has helped you build not just a business, but a legacy?
Oh, yeah. For me, my story involves ownership, right? And so we started focused on, so I'll share with you guys, my initial mentor was Howard Chung. I worked with him for many, many years. I was going to his HITS classes when they was still called HITS, if you remember that. He would make me go. I had to do it like 2 or 3 times so that I could try to think just like him. So I didn't know any other different way except for Howard's way, which if you ever spent time with Howard, it's like the most difficult. He does everything. He's always talking about everything. So that's all I knew. So I was like, database, this is a must. As a matter of fact, we kind of built a little database business together and all that. But anyway, what it's done for me is this has allowed me to stay in touch with enough people. It's allowed me to coach folks. It's allowed me to meet enough brokers that I was able to start up the Ballard office. And then from the Ballard office, we were able to expand. And so now we're part owners of 7 different offices of property management, et cetera. And so, yeah, I think that the Madrona Group in partnership with John L. Scott is all really kind of starts with the database, honestly.
There you go. He said it, not me. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jason, for answering my questions. I wanted to open up to everyone else on this call. Any questions from Jason on something you said or something top of mind that you want to know from a top 1% broker?
Okay, I guess I'll start.
Go ahead.
You had mentioned one of your great outreaches is a weekly newsletter. How in the world do you come up with information weekly to get on a newsletter?
I'll be honest with you, today it is dead simple, right? I have a friend, I call him the robot. And the robot is my Chat GPT account. And I do have the upgraded account. And I have the robot talks exactly like me now. And he knows about my wife and my kids and my dreams and my goals. It's kind of weird. But so it's pretty simple to come up with content now. The hard part is, one, don't just take what the robot says. It's not about just copy and paste. It's about, okay, help me come up with some interesting ideas and then take those ideas and start working on them. You can even work on the ideas with the robot, right? Like, I like that idea, but the way you said it is kind of weird. Let's do this because this is actually how it matches up with my systems and my philosophy. I come up with new content every week. SEO is a big part of what I do. If you Google Snohomish County housing market or Seattle housing market, there's a very good chance I'm the number one result for each of those. It changes all the time. I do that monthly market update. That's kind of the cornerstone for my content. And then after that, it's just about neighborhoods, events, and whatever's going on out there.
Cool, thank you.
Daniel, did you have a question? Oh, go ahead, Joey. Sorry.
Oh, no, it wasn't a question. I just want to say that, Jason, thank you for not only sharing, but for being really honest about the fact that this is work, right? This is work. And I think sometimes, and especially with our brokers, the new ones, right? Oh, look at this person over there who's doing all of these great things. Well, until you put in that same amount of work, you can't expect that same result. So just thank you for being honest. And yeah, I appreciate your thoughts and I enjoy talking with you every time we get a chance to interact. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Joy. Thank you. It's good seeing you too.
Oh, Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah. Jason, thank you for your time. First of all, really appreciate being your true self. I like that. My only question is, you have a goal of making 13 calls, it sounds like, a day. Are those with people you have enough relationship with that it's kind of like a care call, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So for me, it's all over the board, right? So I mean, it's stuff like, I don't know if you guys are editing, I'm allowed to say this, but like I'm a Redfin partner agent, right? And so maybe I'll get a Redfin lead today. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But that's going to be one of my 13 conversations if I do get one. Maybe I'll get a lead from Zillow. Maybe I'll get a call off of my Google business profile. Maybe I'll get a call from I'll get a comment on my blog, right? Or maybe I'll be going through social media and I'll DM somebody that's had some kind of a cool experience. And it's not just necessarily 13 phone calls per se. Typically the phone call for me, so I'll be honest, I'm an introvert. I'm not like a super outgoing guy. And so that part is kind of hard for me. And so I find all these other ways to connect that are meaningful. But I do make phone calls too. I rely on video text a lot. I think that brings a certain level of personability that is pretty easy. So, I just sit there, hit the little camera. Hey, so-and-so, just thinking about you. I heard this thing from the ninja guy the other day. What's the heck's his name? Anyway, yeah, he did a little video and he was like, when you just have like this fleeting thought about somebody you haven't made contact for in a long time, you have motivation right then to contact them, but then it kind of goes away, forget. And he's like, but maybe that's the universe's way of telling you you're supposed to reach out to them. And maybe they're thinking about you too. So I try to really honor that. If somebody just flies into my head, I'm like, you know what? There's probably a reason for that. So let me send out a little message in some way, shape, or form. So lots of different ways to connect, but sometimes it is a phone call.
I love that. I always say that too, right? There's so many missed opportunities. You're like, oh, I wish I sent flowers or a card or reached out, and you don't, because life's so busy. But you just gotta, I love it, honoring that kind of gut feeling to reach out. That's great.
That, you know, that book, The 5-Second Rule, right? And she talks about you only have 5 seconds for that motivation to last. And, you know, so it's like, oh, I should call that person. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll get to it later. You gotta act on it.
I love it. One last question from anyone? Oh, it looks like Nancy had one, and I think you kind of already answered it. She was just asking about what points beyond the Ford questions are you making with your 13 conversations? And I think, yeah, you did a great job of explaining that. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason. This was incredible. I really appreciate you, all the work you do, and thank you for being a leader in our industry. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.